Welcome to the WTR Small-Cap Spotlight podcast. I'm your host, Tim Gerdeman, Vice Chair and Co-founder and Chief Marketing Officer of Water Tower Research. In today's podcast episode, I'm being joined by John Gibson, CEO of Nauticus Robotics, NASDAQ ticker symbol KITT. Nauticus develops autonomous underwater drone or AUD robots and software that services such ocean industries as offshore oil and gas, wind power, defense, and deep-sea mineral exploration. Its electric-powered robots enhance safety, efficiency, and precision, cutting costs with the added benefit of cutting carbon emissions for its customers. Also joining is my WTR equity research colleague, Peter Gastreich. Good morning, John and Peter, and thank you for joining today's podcast.
It's a delight to be here.
Morning, Tim. John, first off, great to see you again. It's been too long. For those listeners who may not be familiar with Nauticus Robotics, would you please provide our podcast audience with a high-level overview of the company and its corporate strategy, as well as a quick flyby of your professional background?
Well, let's see how to best cover that. You did a good job in your introduction. It really is a company that's delivering efficiency, it's delivering safety, and it's better data, better answers at lower cost to customers than what they're doing today. We do that through just a few business lines. We do that through autonomous robots, of which we have one called the Aquanaut, autonomous operating system called Toolkit, and autonomous manipulators, which are the arms that actually interact with the environment around you after you're in position on the seafloor. We're designed to go to depths of 3,000 meters, but this particular technology is incredibly useful at all depths and for a number of markets, as you pointed out. I mean, we're excited about the oil and gas industry and our ability to bring inspection and observation skills there. We're excited about the telecom industry and looking at cables and fibers, as well as the wind industry. And we can talk about that in a little bit as to how much we'll be able to improve their economics. And we also are not confined to maritime markets. Our autonomy software is built on ROS2, and it's robot agnostic, and we've run it on competitor vehicles. We could run it on ASVs, autonomous surface vehicles. We can run it on tracked vehicles on land. So we really have a robotics offering that we're perfecting, particularly around autonomy software, that we think is going to be differentiating for us. The big thing you said was efficiency. We bring a lot of that. We've put out some recent videos on making ROVs autonomous as well, and that improves them by 30 to 40%, and efficiency equals less diesel consumption in that maritime environment. And you're looking at tremendous drops in diesel usage, as much as 80+%, because we lower the size of vessels, as well as we can talk later, moving towards vessel-less operations given the range of the Aquanaut. And so we're able to cut carbon emissions for our customers dramatically, and that's still an imperative for many of our large international and super major companies.
Those are really fascinating data points, and also embedded in my question, if you can just give a quick flyby on your professional background, which I know, but I know our audience would love to hear it.
There's so much about me online. You can spend a week reading about my resume, but most recently I was with Flowtech, and exciting company. We did a tremendous job turning that company around and stabilizing it. So my career started with Gulf. I was a geophysicist, so I know a lot about signal processing, software development. Went to a software company called Landmark, which we sold to Halliburton, and I stayed on as part of the acquisition. Ended up president CEO of Halliburton Energy Services, and so had 40,000 employees and a multi-billion-dollar revenue stream, and working in just about every country you can imagine, and have traveled the most. Went to another software company, which was about a $40-50 million valuation. We sold 4.5 years later for just under $1 billion. Moved from there to environmental services company, so I really understand the environmental impacts of the oil and gas industry. I've produced oil and gas, I've provided services for oil and gas, and I've cleaned up after oil and gas. And now I'm right back at it again. I love tech. I love the the kinds of people that it attracts. I mean, you need really bright mathematicians, roboticists, engineers, and you need customers that have a vision for how you can transform industries. And so I'm excited to be here. I'm doing what I've done my whole career: bring new things to the market and try to make a difference for customers and shareholders.
That's a remarkable background. Thanks for sharing. And I'll now turn it over to Peter to ask a few questions.
Okay, thanks, Tim. So, John, we're going to dig right in. You've had recently quite a few milestones achieved. You announced quite a few things at your Q3 results, and also a big development last week. What would you like to share with us?
Well, Q3 was a good quarter for us on the ROV side. The SeaTrepid acquisition continues to perform well. These guys have high customer satisfaction, which is important to me. It's not just revenue. You want recurring revenue, which means you do a good job for them. We had our two Comanches out offshore doing work for a number of customers. So we've diversified our customer base, continuing to reduce our customer concentration, which I think stabilizes the company. We also, we have 3 Aquanauts. We only had 1 last year, and we were using that one for testing and basically research and development work with customers that was funded. But we weren't able to get as many days with the Aquanaut as we wanted. But the exciting news is we now have 2 Aquanauts that are commercially ready for the 2026 season. We have the 3rd Aquanaut we have outfitted, and we're using that to do the testing and certification for the vehicle on the software and the modifications. So we no longer are having to take it out of commercial work and in order to do the certification and testing. And we've moved it. We have one that'll be working full time every day on testing our software and testing our new solutions and our new equipment, new sensors. There's so much to tell. The other thing that we did was to get that testing every day. Offshore, doing testing and certification cost about anywhere from say $25,000 to $40,000 a day, and so you're looking at $1 million, nominally a month to do testing and R&D work. That's very expensive. The SeaTrepid acquisition brought us down dramatically by giving us a pool, but we managed to find a great facility and great collaborative group in CSA. Sea Robotics in Florida, where they have availability to a 4-acre lake that has enough depth, and the water's murky, which is perfect because you want to use all your sensors. But we've dropped our cost from $30,000 a day to $7,500 a month for testing, and we've taken our time up because you lose all the time transiting out to the test location and transiting back. And weather days. We now are getting in full 8 hours every day of testing instead of losing any of that time. And so I feel hugely efficient. I'm getting way more hours on the vehicle than anyone else. And so that rigorous testing is going to, I think, prove in our commercial success in 2026. And it's a huge inflection point for us. And the biggest thing with the Aquanaut, the ROVs, people contract them. They know exactly what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, how they're going to do it, and it's basically just a fee for service. With the Aquanaut, we're still doing the cultural change to autonomy, and we were selling in the past. If you take 2023, 2024, even 2025, you're pushing tech. You're out trying to get them to adopt autonomy, to adopt a new method of doing work, untethered, and there's some discomfort with it. What's really transpired that's exciting is that we no longer are focusing on selling tech. We're implementing workflows that are specifically designed for improving a customer's specific task, right? So we now are doing mooring line inspections. We're doing riser inspections, and we're doing that with an untethered autonomous vehicle. And those workflows are a lot easier to sell than selling the use of new tech. So it's that transformation of being a tech company into being a service company where we're differentiated in that we're using autonomy, we're using robotics, and we're able to do it in an untethered way. Huge efficiency savings, but we can go in and say, what are you spending on workflows associated with risers and mooring lines, and how do we transfer that money from how you're doing it today to the way that we're doing it? It's really exciting.
Well, it was great to see this, first successful integration and the first paid operation of Toolkit software on a retrofit. This does look like a significant leap forward in terms of the capital light strategy that you've talked about. But when compared to the full stack new build vehicle sales like Aquanaut, how should investors, think about the enhanced margin potential here for these software only retrofits?
Okay, the retrofits is a market for us that accelerates our ability to get to cash flow neutral, begin to produce some profit here. You take a look at the ROV industry with tethers, particularly the light duty work class vehicles like Comanches, and which is a great vehicle for doing the work, and it's how 98% of the work's done today that we're trying to disintermediate with Aquanauts. And we discovered that we could put Toolkit onto those vehicles. So that gives us thousands of units to sell our software into, as opposed to just putting it on new builds that we're manufacturing or competitors' vehicles are being manufactured. So you go from tens of vehicles for licensing software to thousands of vehicles that we can license software on. But to do that, you've got to prove that it works. And part of the SeaTrepid acquisition was having a Comanche ROV that is tethered that we could deploy the software on. We not only deployed it, we tested it, we took it offshore, and we've performed commercial work with that ROV where we've put an autonomy onto an ROV. Now, and we posted some of that out on the on X, the videos of it. Why is it so exciting? Well, as an operator, you have a combination of fatigue. They're pulling a tether. They're trying to maintain course. What we've discovered, and great ROV operators, ones that are out there today, best in the industry, in using this, all of a sudden with the bottom lock, you're able to hold a position above the bottom. You're not going up and down. You're not going left and right. And so just the steering alone, going along the waypoints, we've seen a 30% improvement in the efficiency of the vehicle. That's a lot of time in the ocean. When you're talking about $30,000 to $50,000 a day for a vessel, imagine taking 20 to 30% of that cost out just because the vehicle's flying in a straight line. And instead of trying to overcome currents by hand, this vehicle's constantly adjusting its position, so it's flying in an almost straight line, right? Just it's really close to exactly what you wanted, and it's maintaining that elevation. The ROV operators, they were resistant to this, but now that they see it work, they go, I can concentrate on the data and the job that I'm supposed to be performing on inspection. I'm not simply trying to drive the vehicle any longer. So we're really giving them the capability to do better work, get better data, to get it more quickly. For an ROV operator, it means that they don't have to put additional money in capital into new vehicles. They're going to get more work out of the fleet that they have. And I think as we move to autonomy, extending the life of the vehicles that are in place is critical, and it opens up a fantastic market for us to license our software to just improve the current infrastructure.
Okay, that's a huge opportunity. I actually missed those videos. I'll have to go check those out on X as well.
It's awesome, actually. When you watch it, it is spectacular, and it's hard to show 3D in a plain video. But I wish we'd done it in voxels or something. But it's a case of that vehicle. We gave it a difficult line, basically doing a lawnmower pattern, which is to go up and then go over and come back if you're assessing the bottom of the infrastructure. And when you see it, you'll see just how difficult it is for an ROV operator to fly that line. And imagine it takes all their concentration to do that. They can't be paying attention to the data they're collecting. It's also from a data processing perspective. When you begin to get the data you want and you're not having to go out and edit all of the data that you gathered that wasn't what you needed because you were off course, it's a huge saving in the data processing and the amount of data that has to be analyzed post-survey.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So could you talk a bit more about the, also in the Q3 results, you discussed, acquiring the existing AUVs already in operation as an option for scaling up more rapidly. Could you talk a little bit more about this, in particular, the manufacturing strategy with the new capital available?
Yeah, we're pursuing relationship. In fact, sort of leads me into maybe the most exciting thing to talk about. We're not a manufacturing company, Peter. That's not one of our skills. I've run manufacturing companies. It takes a specific set of competencies to be a good manufacturer. So we've been looking at, for the last year and a half, great partners for manufacturing our equipment and licensing it, so we get a licensing fee for the equipment without having to put the capital in for all of the build or build up the competencies, which would be incredibly costly to the company. But how do you ramp faster to bring autonomy? Well, as I've discussed, using competitors' vehicles, they may not have all the capabilities we have of an Aquanaut, but if they've got 90% and we can improve efficiency by 20 to 30%, you're still looking at a 20% improvement in reduction in cost for customers. And so if you can reduce those vessel days and by using another vehicle, we want to do that. So we're evaluating competitive vehicles to Aquanaut because there's some available in the market today, and we could ramp up from 3 to maybe 10. And by using other people's vehicles, and there's a large swath of work that we can do with their vehicles that may not have all our capabilities, but have sufficient for us to make a difference for customers. So we are looking at purchasing other autonomous underwater drones. I'm not as interested in AUVs, which are really the torpedo-shaped ones, but the ones that can station keep, that can hover, that can orbit an object that we can deploy our software on, because it's our software that brings the real improvements in those vehicles. We're excited about our software platform, and we think we can use some other hardware platforms and modify those and get to market far more quickly. I'm excited about us pursuing manufacturing relationships, and we've signed one with Forum Energy Technologies. And Forum brings absolute excellent manufacturing expertise. And we bring state-of-the-art autonomy and robotics. And the combination of the two, we focused on the manipulator market, electric manipulators. And so we'll be working with FET to bring electric manipulators to the market. We think they'll be able to manufacture them more rapidly. They'll have scale and scope because they'll manufacture more at once than we could probably afford to do with our capital, which is of higher cost. And so you can actually get the cost per unit down dramatically by having a partner that has manufacturing competencies and can order the pieces and the parts in volume and can move up in the queue in terms of priorities on securing those items. There's some long lead times when you're only buying 2 or 3. When you're buying 20, they'll move you straight up in the queue, and you get access to the equipment more rapidly, which is important today. So we're excited about FET. They bring tremendous skills to the market. We're looking forward to working with them, and we think that's going to bring electric manipulators to the market much more rapidly. And you've brought together the capabilities of 2 very different companies, and I think they're very complementary. And we're going to be moving forward with electric manipulators under a strategy we've had for about 1.5 years, which is licensing our hardware technology so that we can get it to market faster, and focusing on the software licensing, which enables that hardware, which we think is the higher margin, faster growth strategy for the company.
Okay, that's great. Maybe we could switch gears a little bit. You recently announced the $250 million equity facility. Would this strategy be used at all for this facility?
Potentially. I mean, with the ELOC, we're being pretty disciplined. You might think that we were buying, ROVs. Well, we're not really interested in increasing the fleet of existing infrastructure. We're completely focused on the future. So we would look at AUVs that we could re-outfit and use, and those are potential for the ELOC. But we're going to be evaluating any use of the ELOC to be immediately accretive. And so we want to pick up things that are complementary to what we're doing. Some of the better things are the complementary technologies that are very, very important to the future. Things like ACOMS, the way that you communicate with the vehicle from the surface to the bottom. ASVs, small ASVs. We're not looking at competing in the big ASV market where you're looking at boats that are 150 feet long, but I'm very excited about 6 to 8, 10-foot vehicles so that we can do another thing, which we think we'll have implemented this year as well. That is, with an ASV and a modem, we can be vesselless. And so instead of $30,000 a day, right, or instead of, we'll be able to actually trailer launch. And trailer launching means I can put the Aquanaut on a trailer, put it in the water from shore, have it go out 40 kilometers, do the work, and then come back. And you need no vessel at all. We'll just have a small ASV. So we're evaluating small ASV solutions to enable us to be have a package and be completely vesselless. And so things of that nature where the ELOC can be used to transform the industry. It's complementary to our current skill sets and enables us to be there faster, that can be packaged together and sold to customers to do their work. That's the most exciting part of the ELOC. We're excited to have it, but we have to be disciplined in the use of it to be accretive and not anything where we're going to be in any way reduce our ability to produce free cash flow.
Yeah, I'd like to circle back to your, your customer strategy. You've recently introduced a deep sea mineral exploration strategy. Just kind of curious, what does that roadmap and timeline look like in terms of executing that strategy, and how should investors be thinking about the priority of deep sea mineral exploration when compared to the opportunities in front of you today, like offshore oil and gas and offshore wind energy?
Minerals it's an emerging market to me, and so I'll probably say some controversial things here, but I think the first phase of it is something that we really can add value to. Our Aquanaut is rated to 3,000 meters. To get one that'll go to 5,500 meters, where much of the minerals work is being conducted, it also drives you to say, let me purchase a deep water vehicle that's already rated to 5,500 meters and put our software on it so that we can make it more efficient and more effective. And so when you look at the minerals market, the ELOC could be used to secure an extreme deep water vehicle and outfit it with our software to take advantage of the phase that the minerals industry is in today in the ocean, which is exploration and assessment phase more than the actual mining. We're not looking at any really heavy equipment to do the mining, but monitoring plumes, the kinds of things, the sediments that are stirred up, having vehicles on the bottom to do observation, to do plume studies would be exciting for us. We think we can do that more quickly through getting a vehicle rated to those depths using our software and sensor technology and gathering the data and assessing the impacts of ocean mineral extraction. And so I think there's a great market for us there without going into the actual mining component of that. We can also use our software on tethered ROVs, which have much higher energy level, right? Because the battery power, when you go to those depths, it's much more difficult to have sustained power at those depths over time, just due to the amount of energy used to dive into surface. So using a tethered vehicle that's rated to 5,500, and there are a number of ROVs that can do that we can make more efficient and effective in the operations to do assessments and sampling and exploration type work for ocean minerals that we think is an excellent market for us as well. So we just need to work with deep water ROV companies or acquire an ROV with an umbilical that will get us to that depth. And that's a market we can enter more quickly that way than we can by trying to build a new class of vehicles rated to, say, 6,000 meters.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I just actually thought of, I'd like to circle back to the ELOC here. How will you ensure that all the stakeholders are benefiting from that? And are there any specific triggers that investors should be thinking about in terms of the optimal timing for drawing down that capital?
Well, we have a really disciplined approach. We've been doing a strategic assessment of acquisition targets that would make sense for the company, both equipment and companies, et cetera, that are complementary. But the real guideline for us is whether or not it improves our cash flow. And so you're not going to see us do anything that doesn't begin to really build shareholder value through getting us to a better position in terms of being cash flow neutral and cash generating. So watch us be disciplined on using that. We're not going to just go and invest in new technology that may not come to market for 10 more years. This is going to be things that are in the market today that have customers that make a difference now, that we can implement now and charge for now. And the amount that we can draw is really dependent on both our share price and other requirements. So I don't think you'll see us make a big draw on ELOC if we do. And right at the moment, I don't have anything specific that we could talk about in terms of the ELOC.
Okay, thanks, John. So your share price is recently hovering near $1. Just what I'd like to ask, is a reverse split something that you would consider executing again?
Well, I see a lot of discussion on that on chat rooms. If nobody hates a reverse split more than an executive like myself that takes all their comp and equity. So I despise reverse splits. However, I would tell you I'm 100% committed to retaining our listing. And to retain our listing, and you get into these territories as we're getting this turnaround completed and we get through this inflection point, get the company going, you use what is available to you to do that. And you want to always have that option available. So you'll find that because I can't control the macro market, if the Fed were to raise the interest rate, you see the market come down, it impact everybody. And when you're down at near $1, you want to be prepared in the event that should happen. So we'll always try to keep a reverse split available to us. But both myself and the board absolutely do not want to do a reverse split. Our goal is to do everything we can, like partnering with others, signing manufacturing agreements with FET. We're going to get this company sorted out where reverse splits not in our consideration. We want to get to a stable point, but maintaining that listing and not controlling a macro market says you want to have those options available to you if you have to have them.
Okay, got it. Very important, John. You do have a lot of skin in the game for sure.
Well, and I hope they'll award me some more, Peter. My goal is to build companies, and as a result of shareholders getting value, I get value. You want that alignment, I think, between particularly companies like this, where we benefit when shareholders benefit.
Absolutely. So we're nearing the end of 2025 here, John, and the new year is just around the corner. Reflecting back on the year 2025, kind of a broad question here, but what achievements are you most proud of? I mean, Nauticus has really accomplished so much, and your team has accomplished so much. But meanwhile, what would be the specific lessons that you'd kind of carry forward into 2026?
Well, there's a lot. One is teaching an organization that was all about technology that you also have to focus on cost. So getting the cost out on testing and developing a culture that's cost conscious is really important, because profitability is what you want. It's not just new tech. And so I think have changed the culture here, and people underestimate the importance of corporate culture to long-term success. And I think the culture here is really high-tech, frugal. And I like high-tech frugal. It creates value in the long term. Second one is we getting those vehicles out so that we're not one vehicle dependent, so that if we have a technical issue that we're not able to look at sustained revenue and able to execute contracts. So having two vehicles, two Aquanauts is really important. Having a third one to do testing with is also an important part of the strategy. Getting the depth test. Okay, we've gone deep enough. There's a lot of revenue that it's sub 2,000 meters, and what we want to do is maximize revenue in 26. So this is no longer about announcing tests. I'm not into the PR work on, I went deeper than anybody else. I made more money than anybody else. So we're focused on making money in 2026. We have a working vehicle. We have working software. We've done a couple other things that are very exciting. We just completed a leak test study for a large international oil company. where we went down and assessed leaking on the seafloor. We did 14 wells in 2025. And we do the sensor configuration to identify the leaks. We're working towards being able to understand the composition of the leaks, the volumes of the leaks, all of it digitally so that there's no physical sampling required. There are thousands of abandoned wells in the Gulf of Mexico alone, many of them within 40 kilometers of shore. Both our customers and the government want to make sure they're in compliance with regard to leaks. So it's a phenomenal market for doing that. And we've completed a test where we're looking at the volumes, the rates, the composition, and we have both a sensor strategy as well as a assessment strategy on the volume so that we're outfitting it with the correct sensors to do this. That's a huge market for us going forward, both for CO2, for natural gas, for methane. And our ability to do that, I think, is going to transform the industry too. And that's exciting. The manufacturing piece, we've worked diligently this year finding the right manufacturing collaboration, and FET looks to me to be just the best partner you could have found. They're excited about electric manipulation. They've got all new classes of ROVs that they're manufacturing, and so we'll also be able to partner with them on sort of the autonomy on ROVs. It's a transformational year. I mean, it's been a year of living dangerously. You know, it's like we've been close to the cusp a few times, and we've survived. And I think we're sort of shifting from survive to thrive in 2026, and so we're excited about the year to come.
Okay, that's great to hear. Yes, I agree. Truly transformational year, for your company. So, but John, thank you so much for your time today and taking a few tough questions from us as well. We look forward to having you back for a future event. And before I pass over to Tim, just want to see if there's any concluding remarks that you'd like to share.
No, I think probably one of the most important events to shareholders is we did go through the NASDAQ hearing. For those that have never done it, they are really rigorous. They ask difficult questions. They take seriously you being in compliance. I think we did our best there. We do not have yet the ruling back from them, but we are in compliance as we announced in the 8K as a result of debt conversion, which we really appreciate those people that converted for us in order to improve our shareholder equity, and our shareholder equity is well in excess of what's required to maintain our listing. Our share price being above $1, any day that it closes above $1 gives us another 30 days. So we're excited about that, and there's a lot of confidence that the things that we're doing is going to stabilize our price. So we're glad to be listed. We're excited that we're in compliance. We're looking forward to hearing back from the panel. And I think everything is strong for us at the moment in the market. And we got a fantastic market to execute our strategy in.
Great. Thanks, John. Tim, over to you.
Peter, thank you for the thoughtful questions. And John, thank you for the very candid and colorful, as I've come to expect from you, answers. It's been a really engaging conversation. I wish you both a great holiday season ahead. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, as well as visiting www.watertowerresearch.com to stay up to speed on the company's small cap written research reports, podcasts, fireside chats, industry-specific symposiums, and conference schedules. We will see you next time for another edition of the WTR Small-Cap Spotlight podcast. Finally, a special thanks to the producer and editor of the podcast, Krista Fitzpatrick.